Hey everybody! In this video we're going to be doing the Elecfreaks Microbit Starter Kit, experiment number 6, Self-Lock Switch. So much like the other experiments, in the first column on the 3 volts, I've got a red wire that runs up to the red rail, and that shares the 3 volts all the way across here, down this red wire, and down this red rail at the bottom as well. Then also in column number 1 with the G for ground, I've got a black wire that runs to the blue rail, that runs across to this black wire, runs up to the blue rail at the top, and shares ground all along the top. For this experiment, you're going to need one LED light. And in this case, I've put that LED light in column number 15 and 16. The shorter leg is in 15 and the longer leg is in 16. Because the shorter leg is in 15, that's going to be the ground. And I've got a ground wire running from the blue rail and lining up there in column number 15. In column 16, I've got a resistor that runs across the little river. And then I've got a wire that's going to be running from pin number 2, which is column number 4, over to column number 16. In addition to that, I also have another wire here that's running from column number 2, which is pin 0, and it's running all the way over here to column number 25. Now, over here, I've got this little self-locking switch, and this switch, if I press it down, we see it stays down. If I press it again, it pops back up, and we see what that's doing with the light for this experiment. To make that work, I've got it in columns 24, 25, and 26. And you notice I've got the whole button on this side of the breadboard. It doesn't need to cross over the 2 sides like the other button. And once again, this power cable is running from column number 2 to column number 25. And then I've got a ground wire running from the blue rail up to column number 26. And once again, when I press it down, we should have that light stay on. And then when I press it again, it turns off. So let's go over to MakeCode and figure out how to turn that light on. We're going to be learning about something in this one called events. All right, here I am in MakeCode. So as I just mentioned, we're going to be doing something called an event in this project. So for example, in the screen recording software I'm using right now, if I ever click down my mouse button, we see a little yellow circle that expands out. The computer is always listening for an event, and whenever I press my mouse button, it sends an event that says mouse down and mouse up, or touch down and touch up. And that saves the computer a lot of processing power, because if it was always doing an if-else loop like we've done in other experiments, it just has to process that each time. Otherwise, we just have the computer always listening for an event, and then it runs code if the event happens, so computers can run a lot faster. All right, so on the start loop, I'm going to set pin 0 to emit an edge event. So under Advanced, which I already had open here, so I click Advanced, I go down to Pin, so we're going to have to go down to the More button. Under the More button, we have down here the Set Pin 0 to emit edge events. I'm going to grab that block and put that on my start loop, and that matches what's in the guide. And then below that, we got to set Pull Pin 0 to Up. So that's also under More. It's right at the top here. And we don't have to change anything here. Set Pull Pin 0 to Up. And we're good to go on the start loop. Now you'll notice in your guide on page number 12, there's some big black boxes we haven't seen before. Those are down here at the bottom on the control blocks. And on the control block, I'm going to grab this really big block that's near the bottom and drag that into my main screen. So right now, this is listening for an event on button A on the microbit, but instead, if you look at your wiring, we've hooked up the big switch button that we have to pin number 2 or column number 4. So I'm going to switch this down to say pin number 2. So microbit ID, in, out, pin number 2. And this right now does any event. I want to switch that from any event to being the rise or fall. And in this case, we want to press the button down, so we're going to call that the fall. When the button does fall, we're going to go ahead and have the pin. We're going to do a digital write. Our light is currently on pin number 2, so I'm going to switch that to pin number 2, and we're going to turn that light on. Now, I could just copy this big black box, so I'm going to hit Control-C to copy, or Command-C to copy, and then Control-V or Command-V to paste. And instead of a fall, this time we're going to switch it to a rise. And when that button rises up, I want to switch that to a 0. I can go ahead and download that to my microbit, and now my self-locking switch should be working. Good luck with experiment number 6.